Today, I am going to talk to you about rejection. The name of my talk here is You've Never Been Rejected by Your Partner. Now that sounds kind of weird, huh? You've never been rejected by your partner, because most of us have felt rejected, or we've done rejecting. So why would this marriage and sex therapist come out with some outlandish statement like, you have never been rejected by your partner? Because it's true. You've never been rejected by your partner, and I will explain what I mean by that. You know, I mean, we know what it's like I said, when somebody, for example, you're in a marriage and your partner continually says no to having sex with you. Maybe that's one thing. Or maybe you want to go somewhere with your partner on a vacation, and your partner says, no, I don't want to. There's many ways we have felt rejected by that. And there's many times you've turned other people down, right? I mean, we turn people down for different things all the time. The problem with this whole idea of rejection is we take things personally that really have absolutely nothing to do, or at least very little to do, with us. When a person, quote unquote, rejects you, what it really means is that the person is going through an experience now, where they would prefer to say no than yes, right? They're going through some experience. So what happens? You say to your partner, I want to make love. The other person says, no, not tonight, hun. And it might not even be a headache, okay? But what we do, of course, is go, oftentimes, that's it, we roll over. But what we need to do is use this quote-unquote moment of rejection as a moment instead of curiosity. What's behind that no? What does it mean? And I've done many talks about good listening, but the bottom line is we want to shift from feeling personally rejected, taking it personally, to being curious. Being curious. What's behind the no? What's behind it? Now, think of you being on the other side of the coin when you have, quote unquote, rejected somebody else, right? Is it because you've rejected them? Now, you might say, yeah, I mean, I remember going on a first date and the person wasn't the right person for me. So the person asked me to go on a second date and I rejected that person. Well, let's define rejection. It's really that you had an experience. You had an experience, and it was an experience of the first date, for whatever reason, that made you feel like you don't want a second date. It was an experience. And the other person could take it personal. They might just say, well, maybe I'm not good enough. They might ask you. They may never ask you. But my point here is that when you, quote unquote, reject somebody, it's because you're going through an experience that is, it's not right for you to do that second date. Now, I'm kind of focusing on committed relationships, but really this whole idea of rejection can go into the dating realm and even friend relationships and all that. When there is a no, there's always something behind the no. And we can take that no personally, or we can get curious. There's different reasons why someone might reject you. It might be, now in the dating example, even though I said I'm going to focus on the intimate relationship thing, it might be that you learn something about that person where it's not what you're looking for. It's not a rejection. It's you taking care of you. It's you finding your own unique path that person may not be a part of. And that person, if they were secure enough, would say, okay, I'm not part of that path. You're not really rejecting me. You're not rejecting me. You are trying to be true to you. Now, going back to intimate relationships, when we get rejected in an intimate relationship, sexually or otherwise, there's reasons why we are getting rejected, quote unquote, right? And what we want to do is realize it's not a real rejection. It's a pseudo fake rejection. What's really going on person having an experience. Now, what might be they're experiencing? Some people reject you or say no to you because they're scared of getting hurt. Maybe your partner feels that you've said no in the past too much about other things, so they're afraid that if they say yes to you, you're going to disappoint them again. Or maybe they have gotten hurt by other people in the past, so they're very protective. I've had couples come in where, for example, they haven't had sex at all of any kind. I don't mean just sexual intercourse, for many years. And the one person, I'm thinking of one right now, where this woman felt rejected by the man's unwillingness, his rejection, or his saying no, until we find out what's behind that. Well, this is a person who went through a tough time, had some performance anxieties, and was fearful of being a failure and being judged by his partner. And it was hard for him to talk about. But there's another quick example of when you really try to delve deeper and get curious about what makes you say no to me, it's not that he's rejecting her. It's that he's fearful of failing. So there could be scared of getting hurt, fear of failure. Maybe this person needs a different set of conditions to allow you to do what you want to do with that person. Let's say, again, sex. Maybe it's not the right conditions. Maybe that person needs sex in the morning, not in the evening. Or maybe that person is just really tired. Or maybe there hasn't been enough emotional connection, emotional conversation. You know, every living organism and entity need conditions, right? Even a desert plant needs conditions in order to thrive. It's not much, but it's something that they need. A little water, a little sun once in a while, a lot, but water once in a while. They need conditions in which to thrive. And as people in intimate relationships, we need conditions as well in which to thrive, in which to say yes. It doesn't just happen. So it's really important to understand that, to understand conditions. The other reason that people oftentimes quote unquote reject is because they're just trying to protect themselves in some way. Again, it's similar to the first thing I said, fear of getting hurt. But it might go even deeper than that. Maybe they're not good at being vulnerable themselves. And of course, talking about sex requires vulnerability. There might be something in that person's past that blocks them, that needs to be explored and delved into. And what better person to ask than the partner? So if we start to look at rejection as there's really no such thing, nobody rejects you because of you. They say no to you because of them, because of something they're experiencing. And like I said, it could be fear of getting hurt or some other kind of protection, or they need some conditions that have to be changed. Let's go back to the dating thing now. You know, there wasn't the right conditions in which to say yes, for whatever the reason. Sometimes it's not really clear. I remember when I was dating, and I had this woman that I was dating for about 6-7 months, and one day she says to me, "Something's missing." And I go, "Nothing's missing for me." And she says, "Well, something's missing." So it broke my heart. Now, we maintained a friendship over the years, and we look back, and it totally makes sense now. It wasn't that something was missing, that something was deficient in me. There was a lot more to it, which only she had a thin layer of understanding about, and I had zero layer of understanding about. And in hindsight, it all kind of makes sense. But I spent a little too much time thinking, what's wrong with me? So this is my message for this talk. We have never been rejected. It's important to replace our defensiveness or our protectiveness from getting rejected into curiosity, to move towards your partner who you experienced as rejecting you, and instead inquire, what's going on? Tell me more. Or if you're the one that's saying no, you want to get curious about what's going on with you, or be willing to share what's going on with you with that other person to illuminate what might be going on. Because the truth of the matter is, most of the problems in relationships is due to a dearth or a lack of information, because people take these minimal cues of hurt and rejection and they just disconnect, fight or flight, distance themselves, rather than be interested and be curious. And what oftentimes happens in the couples that I see, because I help a lot of couples go from feeling rejected to feeling connected and close, is it all starts with curiosity. And I help them be interested. I help them develop the emotional muscle to stay connected when maybe they wanted to close or avoid being rejected. They explore what is behind it. So if you ever feel rejected again, think twice, think 3 times, think 4 times, and realize that maybe there's more going on, and be interested in what's going on with the other person, or like I said, yourself. So that's my talk for the day. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.